I'm Emmie.
And I'm May.
And this is the Female Founders Rise Show. Today, we're going to be talking about how to get to your first 100K, which is something that I get asked so many times, and I know is such a big thing for so many founders. I think getting to £100,000 or dollars or whatever currency it might be is something that's like a real milestone, and probably is helping tell you that you are on the journey to sort of getting product market fit or getting some traction, or knowing that you're getting, you're on the journey to something. And yeah, 100K is an impressive amount. That's definitely a first milestone. So I want to talk to May about that today, because obviously I've been in business for 20 years. I've done that first 100K many times actually. And May, you are in your first business?
Yeah, first business.
You're now generating revenue?
Yeah, we are generating more than 100K. So yeah, like you said, I think it is a milestone and you should celebrate it. It's also, you were saying, one of the most Googled thing.
Yeah, I think it's something that people are really, I think if you can get to 100K as a business, that is showing that you've got customers and traction and you've got something going. It's a really good milestone to get to. And I think what we want to do today is unpack that. Bit of a random question, because I'm not sure I've actually ever thought how I got to 100K in my first business.
We're saying to celebrate it, but we probably didn't celebrate it.
I definitely didn't know. I think also initially I probably didn't have the amazing accounting that we had as we grew our business, and we'd have monthly management accounts and we'd know exactly how much money we made each month. I think probably at the beginning, when we hit our first 100K, I didn't even know that had happened. Also, because we were running a media agency, it was kind of a bit confusing, because we could invoice a client 100K, but we would then have to go and buy media for 80 or 85K on their behalf. So actually 100K of revenue was only 15 grand of profit to us, which is very different to, say, a business like yours, where if you invoice someone 5K, you're probably keeping most of it. So an agency model as a media agency can be quite different. So revenue, that probably, in 100 grand revenue is very different things to different people.
No, 100%.
And for some people, it's very easy to make that first 100 grand in revenue, because actually the way that your business works. So
I think it sounds a lot as well. And I think the more that you sit with it and you actually allow yourself to think it's not that much money.
Yeah.
I think it just moves that glass ceiling that you might put on yourself.
I think if you're a solo consultant and you're billing 100 grand and you're keeping 100 grand, that's a really nice amount of money. If you're running a media agency and you bill someone 100 grand and you only take 15% of it and you've got a whole team of people to pay, that's not really very exciting.
Let's talk about, if you are a solo founder, a small business, what advice would you have, Emmie, in terms of pricing? How do you actually charge? Can you remember how you
So,
charge?
I mean, I've been a consultant as well. I've had a consultancy business as well. So let's talk about getting to 100 grand as a consultancy business. And what you charge is kind of often quite difficult to know what to charge when you first step out, because often you've been doing something else. And for me, what I always did is I initially would just think about an amount of money that I thought was a good deal for them and a good deal for me, that was a good exchange, I think it's got to be a good value exchange where both parties feel like they're getting something good. And what everyone always says is, if someone snaps it up straight away and says, yeah, I'm up for it, you're like, I undercharged myself. So then you just put it up. So every time I put it up 10, 15%. Now, I often would have coaches who would be like, you're massively undercharging yourself, you should put your prices way higher. But then sometimes that goes against you, because it makes it so much harder to win the piece of business. And I always think, if you can find that happy medium where you are a great deal, but also you're getting paid really well, that really works. So I think I got to that point when I was doing my consultancy. I was doing over 100K. Yeah, I probably had, I don't know, 3 or 4 clients, and I was charging them 3 grand each a month. I do think, though, that then I was spending quite a lot of money on things like coaching and stuff like that. So it's super interesting, and I think we can also get carried away and not keep an eye on our expenses.
Yeah.
So actually,
the profit.
I mean, so I know everyone talks about revenue and, you know, hitting £1 million in revenue or hitting your 100K revenue or doing your 10K months. I mean, for me, profit was always much more interesting because profit is money that's going to go into my pocket or back into the business, or that we also, when we were running our agency, we gave a percentage of our profit to our team, our staff. That was their bonus. So I think revenue is very much vanity metrics. I think what's really interesting now in a lot of these companies that we're getting investment, it's all about the revenue because you do multiples on the revenue, and people were less worried about making profit. Whereas when I was running a business, it was all about making profit, you know, and actually if you didn't make profit, you don't have a business. So yeah, I think pricing's important. I think the other thing we should talk about as a founder is sales, because it always comes back to sales. So if you want to hit 100 grand, £1 million, whatever it is, you're going to have someone who's doing the sales for you. And in the early days, that's most likely going to be the founder, because you have the credibility. People, you know your business, and you care about it more than anyone else. So how are you with sales?
Well, so we're still founder-led sales. I actually lead the sales, but I totally agree. I think until you know exactly what your product is, what you're selling, what the value is, there is literally no point hiring someone else.
Very expensive to hire as well.
Very expensive. I always thought that if you did, I kind of thought, if I hire an expensive salesperson, they're going to solve all of my problems in terms of like sales and getting more money, and that is not the case. Like, they come in to take over what is already,
when you've got a process and a system.
You've got a system. I think also back to the pricing point, like we did exactly the same, where you do kind of just guess. You go out to market, you say the price, and it is obvious if it's too expensive or too cheap. But I would also say if you're just starting out, definitely offer an early discount or like an early adopter discount, because those are the advocates. Those are the people who are gonna, trust you, try your product, and if they like it, they will stay. So we have so many partners who've been with us from the start, and they're still paying the early adopter price, but they've brought in so many other clients.
Amazing. So let's talk a bit about getting to, I know I keep coming back to it, but that's the topic of this episode, getting to 100K. So for me, it's all about marketing and sales. Well, first of all, you need to have a product or service that people want to buy and that they're able to buy. Assuming that is the case, you then have to...
And you can sell it, as in someone would actually want to pay money for it.
So you've got to have a product that people want to buy and have got the money to buy. And I think what I would think about then is, how do you get that in product or service in front of people? So that's all marketing and sales. So we talked about sales. Founder-led sales is obviously a huge thing in the early days, and we talked a bit about that, and obviously that's how we built our business. We were going out and pitching to clients and showing our expertise. I think there is a whole piece around marketing as well. We were talking about that at our recent breakfast on growth. So obviously very different for a B2B business and a B2C business, how you would market your business, but let's talk about some of the growth, the channels. So should I share a few that
you share?
That I use in B2B, and then you could talk about some of, well, I know you're mainly B2B as well. We could talk about some B2C ones. But for me, founder-led sales is huge, but founder-led marketing. So people buy from people they know, like, and trust. That is like the basics of marketing, I believe. People invest in people they know, like, and trust. Business is about people knowing you, liking you, and trusting you. And that kind of comes back to the marketing funnel. You've got to have that awareness at the top, then you've got to have that trust where you're nurturing your prospects or your clients, and then they convert, and then hopefully they become advocates. So you want to be doing activities at each of those stages. You want to be doing things that let people know about you and your business, things that get people to trust you and your business, things that help you convert, and then things that help you retain and refer. And I believe that the founder-led marketing is such a key piece, because that does actually help at all of those stages. So that would be building your personal brand on LinkedIn. Personal branding is such a big sort of topic, excitement, I suppose, or everyone's talking about it, but there is a reason why, because it does, that's how I found you. So building a personal brand, so you've got, LinkedIn, you've also got things like speaking on podcasts, becoming an authority in your space, getting PR, winning awards. So all of those kind of things. And so I would say the personal brand or the fan-led marketing is a key part of unlocking.
And would you focus on a specific area, like because you're, for example, with Female Founder Rise, all of your content is around female founders? Do you need to kind of follow on a niche?
If you're wanting to build your founder-led brand, you want to become the expert or the go-to for your industry. So, you're
not posting stuff about your family.
I mean, you can be a bit because people need to get to know, like, and trust you. But I think with the idea that the majority of your content is building that thought leadership, building that trust, showing that you're very credible. I think, like, when I spotted you on LinkedIn, and you were talking about what you're doing, I could see you were very passionate about your business, about the problem that you're solving, and that you really understood it. And I think that's what gets people to buy into you. So if I was telling someone, who's just started their business, they're like, Emmie, I want to hit that 100K. I was like, the first thing you need to do is start thinking about building your founder brand. I also think networking is so underrated. Yeah. We know from the Rise report, 78% of founders talk about human connection, and they talk about the power of founder networks and communities. That's where these relationships are being built. That's where you're getting opportunities. That's where you're meeting new potential clients, strategic partners, all of those things, which is going to open doors to your business. That doesn't matter if you're a B2C or a B2B business. Yeah. All of those relationships are going to open doors. So
we'll do an episode on networking, I think.
We must do an episode on networking. So networking, personal brand, those are two things that you can do quite easily that I believe is going to massively unlock doors. I was talking to a founder in our community, and she'd met another founder, just got referred a $4,000 piece of business. So, I mean, you don't need that many of those before you've hit that figure. So I would say those are things that can easily be done. And then I think about just having a think about the marketing funnel. I don't know, are you familiar with the marketing funnel?
I mean, yeah, the basics.
Yeah, the basics. So I just think it's thinking, I think there's, like, sometimes they say the RACI network, so it's reach, which is the awareness, so making sure you've got that reach. Now, if you're already really good at the reach or the awareness, you then maybe need to work harder on the second bit, which is the action or the nurture piece, which, how can you build that trust? How can you nurture people that have said, I might be interested in your product or service? That's doing things like podcasts where they can really get to know you. That's sharing, going to networking events. There's lots of little things. That's your email marketing. There's all these different things you can be doing. And what you'll find is early stage businesses are normally very good at one or two of those stages, but they haven't nailed the others. So maybe some people say, like, every customer, I speak to 10 customers, I convert 8 of them. So I was like, well, your customer conversion, that's brilliant. You don't need to worry about that. Let's get you more customers in at the top of the funnel. So really the answer, or the question or answer, I don't know which one it is, but if someone said, I want to hit a revenue target, I would be working back and saying, what bits of those marketing funnels working for you now?
Yeah.
And what are the bits that you need to work on? And you could then go into Claude and say, tell me 10 things to raise awareness for my business. My business is this, and pick the ones that you think you would enjoy and you're good at.
I think what you're really good at is that, obviously, that raising the reach awareness piece. And I think you do not mind putting yourself out there. Like, I'm sure that there was a period where you pushed through that, but I think a lot of founders are scared to post more than once, say a week, a day, but you have to put yourself out there, and like that, it like doesn't matter if people are seeing you all the time, because people's memories, forget.
They don't see you all the time, because not everyone's going to see your post. And I always say, you're 90% of the time you're helping people. The content you're sharing, if you are sharing content that shows that you're an authority in your space, or showing your expertise, or showing your passion and your interest, there'll be lots of people in the industry who are one step behind you, who you're really inspiring and who are loving that content. And there'll also be, the people you used to work with and your peers in the industry who are also...
It takes like 8 times for someone to recognize something or acknowledge something.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Post.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the things is post. Also, I'd say the other thing is getting clear on your metrics and where your customers are coming from and what channels are working and what channels aren't. So part of that sort of marketing strategy and plan is looking at what's working at each stage, where are your customers coming from, where are the high value customers coming from. Like I remember I did some consultancy work, and the customers were coming through at, say, you know, £150 cost per acquisition, and the customer's worth £250 lifetime value or something. But actually what was really happening is some of those customers were worth £2,000 and some of them were worth 200, and is working out where the £2,000 customers are coming from, and not necessarily just putting everything as an average. So I think things like that as well, if you can start really digging down and spotting the opportunities, like where's your most profitable customers coming from, then you can start thinking, how do I get more of those into the funnel? How do I convert more of those? So it's kind of a bit of, I'd say there's some data and there's some research in there as well.
What would you do completely differently now if you were to do it again?
So yeah, I think the businesses that I ran when I was 25 and 26, the ecosystem was totally different. We didn't call ourselves founders, we didn't call ourselves entrepreneurs, there weren't accelerators. Everyone was, I don't even know if there was investment like flying around. It felt like everyone was actually running a business to make money and make profit, not just running a business to like make revenue. There was no social media, so there was no Facebook, no Instagram, none of that. We used to go home and we didn't have mobiles, so we just go home and have a rest. Even networking, you know, that wasn't really such a thing. We did find things like strategic partners, which I always thought was brilliant. I suppose our version of networking was we used to go to a lot of events and sort of industry things. I think what has massively, massively changed the way, I think for founders now, there's a lot of opportunities that really level the playing fields. I mean, you've got AI, which basically can do so many of the boring jobs and open up so many opportunities to people at very low cost. You've got social media, which means anyone can build a personal brand and get themselves out there. You've got networking opportunities coming out of your ears. You've got accelerators, you know, so there's so many opportunities, but I suppose also that can come with almost overwhelm.
Yeah.
I would say I'd always go back to the basics, like what I was talking about marketing, you know, it makes sense in every business. Being really clear on who you're targeting, what your unique proposition is, your unique positioning in the market. But I do think now that a lot of those barriers have been removed in terms of, you know, if you're a content creator, if you're happy to create content, you could theoretically have a big audience that you can then sell to. So I do think social has really changed things.
No, 100%. I think like now though, there's so much competition and like AI is great, but it's also allowed everyone to be sending cold emails, doing LinkedIn posts. And so I do think the authenticity still needs to come through, because the moment I see a sales email and I can see it's been written by AI, you delete. And I don't think
you've lost credibility.
And you've lost credibility. So it's like use AI and the tools to help you, but always remember like the value, the authenticity, the human connection. Exactly.
Connection. That's what is behind it all. And you know, I remember someone saying networking doesn't work, and I thought, gosh, I thought it did work. It feels like it worked to me, and I thought I'm obviously doing something wrong. There's obviously some other, you know, channels that are much better. But what I've realised through 20 whatever years in business is networking does work. Like every single door that's been open to me, the deal with London Business School, the deal with Google, every opportunity for sponsors I've had has either come from my relationships with people or LinkedIn or someone introducing me to them. And none of it's come from paid ads.
So what we're saying is 100K is linked so much to human connection and how you connect with people. How would you say if someone isn't that confident, doesn't really, you know, feel like they can make those human connections, what advice do you have there? Because it seems like, you know, you're so natural at it.
Well, I think it's something that you get better at. I think the first time that I went networking, I was absolutely petrified. And I think I would say that's why I set up Female Founders Rise, because I want there to be like a place or a community that you go that you can feel very welcome and safe and it's not overwhelming. So I'd say go and find those communities where you have a real affinity, maybe, you know, try and go with a friend or, you know, start small. I also think commenting on LinkedIn is a great place to start to build relationships, saying hi to people in the DMs. That, you know, there's so much that you can do online, and you can make friends and build a whole community online if you don't feel confident to yet get out in person. But I do think there's so many opportunities and so many events now. So I would say there's lots of ways to get to 100K. It depends on what type of your business is. I do think paid ads are great, but what I would say, having consulted for many, many people, is there's so much you can do without spending money on paid ads first, and actually you need to get all the basics right. If you don't have the basics right, you're wasting money. Yeah. I've had so many clients that I've worked with who've come to me and they said, oh, I've just spent 50K on Facebook ads. And I was like, but you don't even know what your marketing messaging is. You don't know who you're targeting. You don't know any of these things. You've literally wasted all that money. We could have kept that 50K. We could have got the basics, done some strategic partnerships, you know, worked on your founder brand, and actually you'd still have that 50K. So.
And if you get your 100K, like you said, with no paid ads, all organic, and you've nailed the value, you've nailed the marketing message, then you know that you can repeat that, and then the 200K will probably be easier than the 100K. Yeah. Well, I think we're running out of time. So what is the one piece of advice that you would give a female founder who is currently building towards their first 100K revenue?
I would say the things that I said, which is, build your founder-led brand. Don't be scared of networking. Get out there and understand the marketing funnel and what areas you're good at, what areas you need to focus on. And if you don't know what tactical things to do in those, I would just do some research and you know, ask Claude or ask whoever, or we can do a whole podcast actually on the marketing funnel. I think that would be a really good thing to do. But yeah, I think it's definitely achievable. And I would say don't waste any money on, you know, PR, paid ads,
sales team,
and anything like that until you've really nailed your proposition and you've got a product that people want to buy, and you know that the money that you put in is then going to accelerate that growth. Exactly. What about you? What's your one piece of advice? Because you've done it. You got to 100K.
I know. I think it's it is that authenticity piece. I think it's just staying. Again, that human connection piece as well, because all of the sales that we've made with our clients, we are friends with our clients, and I think that they have bought from us because they like us and they trust us. So do not forget about building that relationship. And if you can't sell it, then no one else can sell it.
So if you want the playbook to getting to your first 100K, that will be in the show notes, and see you next week.
Yay!